Hi, this is Dodger, and you're watching my show.
Three, two, one, ready, go!
My room is finally starting to come together. And by come together, I don't mean that I've put any of the sound foam out, because I still have not. But what I mean is that most of the trash is gone now, which is just like such a great feeling. Also, as a side note, if this is your very first episode of news ever, or your very first episode of anything on my channel, you don't even know who I am, you just stumbled over here, welcome. I hope that you enjoy. And if you think this is cool and you want more of it, please hit subscribe, that would be awesome. So for our first piece of news, we are, of course, going to talk about Nintendo. And some of you might be like, wow, I definitely thought she was gonna leave that until the end. Nope, we're gonna just get it out of the way. So Nintendo did a huge press conference about the Nintendo Switch. All of these journalists that have been spending months now just coming up with conspiracy theories about it, I don't know, maybe they're delighted because now they can stop speculating, or maybe they were like, no, my income. But basically, we finally have some concrete information about the Switch, about how it works, about how the controllers work, about games that are gonna be coming out. So I'm gonna touch on like the big points, and if you wanna find out more information, you can find it. It's everywhere. So the Switch is coming out on March 3rd, and it will be $300 US. I don't know how much it's gonna be anywhere else, really. And I don't know if you can just, convert it and come up with the right number, because sometimes that's just not how it works. But, okay, the stuff that you get with it, I'm gonna just go look at lists, because I'm gonna forget some of them. Literally none of that was actual human speech. Okay, with your $300, you get the actual Switch, you get the dock, you get the controllers, which they're calling Joy-Con. And when you hand another controller to a person, it's sharing the joy. You get the Joy-Con grip, which is basically like a thing that you can put the controllers in and hold it like a sort of normal, bigger controller. You get little straps so that the controllers can't get away from you, Wii style. You get the AC adapter and then an HDMI cable. Last night there were all kinds of people saying, oh my gosh, you can pre-order it right now. I just went to look, because I didn't do it last night. So I hopped on Amazon, I went to look and see if you could still pre-order it. They're gone. They're all already gone. I mean, they'll come back, but like, the pre-orders on Amazon are donezo. And that includes the normal looking one and then the super bright, colorful one, this one. All of the elements of this individually are also quite expensive. So just keep that in mind. If you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to have just more controllers, right? Just be aware, a little expensive. Some of the things that were speculated on wound up being totally true. You can, just dock the system and then plug it into your TV and just play it like a regular console, right? Where you can see everything happening on the screen. The actual controllers themselves, when you pull them off of the Switch, they have little L and R buttons and you can do all that. They have what I think is being called Next Gen Rumble, which they claim is so sensitive that if the controller is trying to show you how many ice cubes is in the theoretical glass that you're holding with a controller, that you would be able to tell how many ice cubes are in there. I was like, what? As for games, Breath of the Wild is going to be a launch title. Thank goodness, because they also released a new trailer and it was so good. They announced Splatoon 2, but not like with a 2 in the name Splatoon. So really, I'm offended. There's actually a big list of games that people can play that aren't necessarily new games, but it's going to pad out the system to start with, and I'm honestly kind of okay with that. Oh, and they have a new subscription service that's going to be free until later on in the year so that people can really get a feel for whether or not, it's worth money. That's going to include, shoot, can't even remember. Yeah, it's free at launch. In fall of 2017, they'll start to charge for it. Oh, that's right. It offers you one NES or Super NES game per month that you can play for the entire month for free. So like that game is just available for you to blast through if you would like in that month. The service includes a smart device application available in summer 2017 that will let users invite friends to play online, set play appointments, and chat with one another as they play compatible games. There's also no Street Pass, no Miiverse. It's the future. So again, any extra stuff that you would like to find out, I can link you guys to some full write-ups of all of the highlights and all of the games that are slated to come out. And, you know, I don't want this entire episode to be a Nintendo Switch episode, but I would be remiss to not even mention it. But again, you know, everybody's having a really visceral first reaction to this thing, whether it's really good, like, oh my god, this is gonna change my life, or if it's, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, Nintendo will never learn, they're a garbage company. Maybe just take a breath. Maybe just take a breath in the wild, if you will. That did not work. Speaking of games that are going to be available on the Nintendo Switch, Shovel Knight is one of them. But again, we're not talking about Nintendo Switch anymore, right? We're here to talk about specifically Shovel Knight and some changes that are going to be coming to it. Shovel Knight is actually rebranding to Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. The reason being that they now have, well, they have like the base game, and then they had a free DLC, and then there's another, you know, campaign that's about to be added on altogether. So just overall, they're feeling like the game has gotten huge, right? We want to keep our promise of releasing free content for all players. We also want to continue building these campaigns and features to be the best. Somewhere along the way, the game has simply gotten too big. It's difficult for many players out there to find everything or even know that these campaigns exist. We believe that providing standalone versions will provide better entry points for different types of players and allow more people to continue enjoying each adventure on their next favorite platform. So yeah, they've got Shovel of Hope, which is like the original one, and then Plague of Shadows, which was the free DLC, and the next one is being called Spectre of Torment, that's right. So they've decided to actually release all of these as separate games entirely. Obviously, in that quote, it's being pitched as, well, a lot of people don't even know the DLC exists. They don't even know there's new DLC coming out, which I get, and I think there is some truth to that. There's also just the fact that, you know, they keep working on the game, and if, you know, they're not making any kind of money back, then that winds up being a problem. So saying, you know, if you already own the game, you'll continue getting free DLC, but if you're interested in, like, purchasing these individually in the future, then you can. At least that's the way that it's coming across, like that's the way that I'm reading it. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Also, local co-op, which was only available on Wii U up until this point, will be included in Treasure Trove, as well as a 4-person battle mode that I don't think is complete yet, but that they're currently working on. So yeah, they're adding in some new stuff. So if you wind up getting Treasure Trove, you'll get more than just, you know, the game and the DLC and the future DLC. You'll also get new modes for the game, which I think is cool. The price of Shovel Knight right now will be going up sometime in spring, but until it does, you can purchase it at the current price of $15, and that will get you Treasure Trove as an upgrade. Cool. Can we talk about Sea of Thieves for just a second? Because I'm so excited for this game. You know, we've hyped it up a little bit because from the demo, it seems like there's a lot of potential there, but whether or not it's going anywhere or whether or not they're going to sort of zone in on what that potential is and really bring it to life, you know, you can't always tell when you're at the beginning of the process of creating a game. So we've been excited about it, but kind of like tentatively excited. They released a new trailer that is a multiplayer trailer in which they sort of talk about ways that the game has already started evolving in a multiplayer sense, because the whole game in general is supposed to be very, very social. The idea of, you know, you being in this goofy pirate atmosphere, but everybody has, you know, jobs to do, and everybody is trying to really contribute to a positive experience on a ship. I love that. So if you would like to watch that trailer, I will absolutely put it in the description. I'm telling you, I can't talk like a normal person today. So if you would like to watch that trailer, I will absolutely put it in the description. I'm sure when this game comes out, I'll wind up getting roped into some kind of a terrible crew with Jesse and TB and Krendor and... But I love that you don't choose a role. You don't wind up having to stick to one type of thing on the ship. Everybody can contribute in different ways. You can swap jobs, you know, whatever needs to get done. That there's this huge focus on like going to new places, finding treasure, everybody working together to find the treasure. I just think it's going to be such a fun experience and such a fun game to play. And I really, really hope that they continue to, you know, as they're developing the game, say what's going to be the best way for people to have fun and really come together, you know, because that's where their focus has been so far. And I just love it. So I just wanted you guys to know there's a new trailer. You should go check it out. And if you haven't heard anything about Sea of Thieves up until this point, just check it out en général. The Sims 4 is adding 2 different things that I think we can all say go together: vampires and toddlers. The toddlers are actually available as a free update right now. Probably because it was ridiculous that they weren't included in the base game in the first place, but you know, whatever. Some of you might not remember this, but when Sims 4 was gonna be coming out, we were all up in arms about the sort of things that they were leaving out of that game. Like things that didn't make sense at the time, right? We're finally getting toddlers. Guys, they won't just go from infants to adults anymore. That's kind of an exaggeration, but you understand what I mean. Like, this was an element of the game that I think confused people a lot. So yeah, there are toddlers, but there are also vampires, in case you want to do some of that. Either way, I bet this DLC is gonna suck. Huh? I did not come up with that joke. Definitely stole that joke off of someone else. Shout out to Andy Chalk on PC Gamer. Came up with good goof, dude. You'll notice that this world looks and feels totally different to the others in The Sims 4, with creeping fog and withered old foliage. We wanted this to feel like a centuries-old neighborhood with history and secrets. So there's also some great build and buy mode objects to help you create your perfect vampire home. Don't worry, vampires aren't unique to Forgotten Hollow. They will show up from time to time in other worlds, just not as often. Now they're speaking my language. You want to just make a spoopy looking house? We got you. For me, and I think everybody plays The Sims differently, right? But for me, it's all about making people that look like people I know and then thinking that it's funny, and then making a dope house and then never touching the game again. So if I can log in, you know, for like a day, make a bunch of creepy vampires that look like me and all my friends, or Naruto characters, really, you know, whichever suits my fancy in the moment. And then make a beautiful nightmare home for them, I'll be delighted. I don't know, man, something in me changed when that mpreg mod just didn't work right when I was a teenager. It's like, all my dreams can finally come to life. I can create a family with these characters that have no business having a family, and then it just didn't work out. I realize that makes it sound like I don't think that 2 gay men should be allowed to have a child. I more just meant like I was taking anime characters who were murderers and trying to mpreg them, and it wasn't working. LGBTQ community, I stand with you. No hate. All right. People are going after a system called Fair Fight that is supposed to detect cheating. The system is used in a game called Battlefield 1. Maybe you've heard of it. And a couple of players who are known for being very good were banned by the system because they were picked up as being cheaters. Essentially, they were just too good at the game. Yeah, it was a player named KL Spasmo. There's actually a video of it. And honestly, this isn't totally unheard of. This has absolutely happened before. There have been temporary bans on like really good players in the past. And basically the system just checks for things that it thinks are statistically improbable. Like things that it thinks humans should not be able to do. But there was actually a response to this that sort of addressed what might have gone on. KL Spasmo said, "I didn't want to start a witch hunt for Fair Fight. I don't feel like EA, DICE, or Fair Fight has any kind of a vendetta going on against good players. I just strongly believe my friends and my bans were triggered by our scores per minute rising due to squad experience boosts, which double the amount of experience and game score you get, and dropped significantly more often during the holidays." So he says in the video, although I think the video is private now, but he even says in the video, like, I did well, but I didn't do that well. You know, I wasn't doing so well that a system should be like, oh my God, it's a computer. So to say that their playing was probably, I don't want to say exacerbated, but that's like the only word I can think of. To say that like their level of play was exacerbated by a bonus that was happening, I guess that makes the most sense. I'm sure that by this point, they have had their ban lifted, that it's all been checked out, that they're back in the game. But it's interesting that somebody could be so good that a system designed to detect cheaters would be like, oh my God, they're botting that. And if you are somebody who is so good that an entire system is gonna like try to shut you down, then good on you. you've got skills, man. You know what? And also good on them for saying, I don't think that it's necessarily anybody's fault. I think that, you know, the system picked us up and that's just how it goes, and we'll just get unbanned, it's fine. As a final bit of news, Platinum has apologized profusely for the cancellation of Scalebound. By the way, Scalebound was canceled, in case you didn't know that. It's like a big cancellation, right? Because we saw a huge demo of this at E3. It's obvious a lot of money was going into this. It was a big AAA title, but it was confusing to watch. It was the sort of game where you watch the gameplay and you were thinking, okay, but what is this? I talked about it a little bit on the Co-optional podcast. There's some different sort of speculations happening at this point, but overall the game just, in general, is shut down. Whether or not it's because there was some kind of a clash internally, that's what more people are starting to discuss. When we were on the podcast, we were talking about how, okay, what probably happened is Microsoft looked at the game as it stood now and said, all right, it's gonna cost more money for us to fix this, like fix whatever's wrong with it, than we will probably get back. Which is odd because Platinum makes great games. So now, some quotes that are kind of leading people to believe, oh, Platinum and Microsoft actually didn't see eye to eye on this game. That's more what people are starting to talk about now. Regarding the cancellation of Scalebound, we are sorry to say that on January 9th, 2017, Microsoft Studios announced the cancellation of Scalebound. We are very disappointed things ended up this way, especially since we know many of our fans were looking forward to this game as much as we were. Going forward, we will strive to continue delivering high-quality games to you, starting with Nier Automata in March and including products like Grand Blue Fantasy, Project Relink, and Lost Order in the future. We will keep working hard to meet your expectations, and we look forward to your continued support from President and CEO Kenichi Sato. Hideki Kamiya also tweeted a whole bunch of stuff, basically saying, like, I promise I'll keep trying to make awesome games, so I'm sorry about all this. But people are starting to say that Kamiya really wanted an incredible game. Like, he wanted to meld all kinds of different really epic games together and had a big, big vision, and Microsoft wanted something much simpler. That the game never quite worked on Xbox One, which is why the footage that we did get was kind of odd, like kind of an odd mishmash of things, because they picked and choose, that's probably not the right way to say that they grabbed specific footage that they know would look good in a demo. Just things like that, you know? And maybe we're at fault. Maybe this is our fault, right? We keep wanting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger games. And maybe we don't have systems that can handle the sort of huge games that these directors and producers are starting to think about making. You know, they're hearing our response and saying, man, I would love to make a game like that. Let's make a game like that. And then once there are certain ways into the process, they realize, like, oh, we don't really have everything we need to make this a reality. Either way, I do think that it's sad. There were apparently all kinds of like cool RPG elements in the game. You could customize your dragon, like a bunch of stuff that nobody ever really knew. And I think if they did know that, they would have been more interested. So rest in peace, Scalebound. I hope that we see something like you in the future. And I hope that Platinum Games does get to, you know, make an awesome game, because I think that having a dream fall to pieces is always sad. Anywho, that's been my show. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a positive or a negative response, feel free to leave it in my comment section. And if you would like to watch any of my streams, you can find them at twitch.tv/dexteritybonus. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Mwah. In the description.